Okay, this is Algebra 1, test number 8, study guide. We got through lesson 3.2 where we were doing multi-step equations. First one is a multi-step equation. Negative 6 equals x over 8 plus 4. You got to undo subtraction and addition first, then multiplication and division, exponents, and finally parentheses. So undo plus 4 by subtracting it. Remember, if you need to separate your equation like that, do so. You subtract 4 on the right, do it on the left as well. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10 equals x over 8, and this part right here cancels out. There is no more addition and subtraction, so you go to the next step, multiplication and division. It says x over 8, which means x divided by 8. Cancel out divide by 8 by multiplying by 8. You multiply the right by 8, do likewise on the left. 8 times negative 10 is negative 80. Equals, this part cancels out, it leaves you with x. That's what you were trying to isolate. X equals negative 80. Almost an identical problem for number 2, except you're dealing with a reciprocal instead. Again, you're looking for any addition and subtraction first. You have plus 3. So undo plus 3 by subtracting it. If you subtract it there, do it here. 8 minus 3 is 5. So you have 2/3 times x is equal to 5. That means 2/3 times it, which means you would divide by 2/3. But remember, instead of dividing by 2/3, you could shorten it up by multiplying by the reciprocal 3 over 2 and save yourself an entire step. If you multiply that side by 3 over 2, do likewise on the right. Everything's over 1. It cancels out here and leaves you with just x. That was the goal. 5 times 3 when you go straight across is 15, and 1 times 2 is 2. That's not going to simplify any farther. 15 over 2 is what x is equal to. Number 3 says 20 equals negative d plus 15. Again, undo addition and subtraction by subtracting 15. If you do it there, do it here. 20 minus 15 is 5 equals negative d. That's the same thing as negative 1 times d. So now that you undid the addition of 5, undo the multiplication of negative 1 by dividing by negative 1 on the right. If you do it on the right, divide by negative 1 on the left. A positive divided by negative, opposite signs is always going to be negative, and 5 divided by 1 is 5. Okay, number 4 looks a little bit different. We hadn't seen one exactly like this. Remember, you work, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. When you undo stuff, you take care of the Sally and the Aunt part first, then the division and the multiplication, the exponents and the parentheses. This is key because right here, we're supposed to undo addition and subtraction first. We're supposed to undo this plus 10 right here first. The reason we can't, however, is because of this fraction bar. It acts as if there is a parentheses around the top and around the bottom. So that's actually the last step we're supposed to get to. So we can't get rid of that plus 10 yet. So you have to go past the addition of 10 first to the next step, division and multiplication. This says divide by negative 3. So you cancel out divide by negative 3 by multiplying by negative 3. If you do it there, do it to the other side. Negative 3 times 2, opposite signs, is negative 6. It cancels it here, and you're left with equals 10 plus z. Again, it just looks slightly different than other problems we've already had. So now you just go back to the beginning of the order of operations, get rid of the fact that this says plus or positive 10 by subtracting it. If you do it there, do it here. Negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. It cancels here, is equal to z. Number 5 says 49 minus 6 plus 2g equals 51. Combine 49 and negative 6, or 49 minus 6, and you have 43 plus 2g equals 51. Get rid of 43, the positive value, by subtracting 43. Remember, you subtract addition and subtraction first. But you get rid of that first. If you do it on the left, subtract 43 on the right. So you have 8 left over on the right. Equals, all of this cancels out, you're left with 2g on the left. Get rid of 2 times g, that's the next step, by dividing by 2. You divide by 2 on the left, do it on the right. G is equal to 8 divided by 2 is 4. Distribute, 3 times y is 3y. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15 equals 3. So now that it's distributed, now that it's simplified on the left, start undoing the problem. Undo addition and subtraction first by adding 15. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. 3 plus 15 is 18 equals 3y. This part cancels out. You undid the minus 15 by adding it. Now undo the multiplication of 3 by dividing by 3. If you divide the left, divide the right. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Number 7 says 5p over 6 minus 29 equals negative 54. I know that one's kind of jumbled up. It might look small on your paper, so make sure you have that written correctly. Minus 29 equals negative 54. It actually looks worse on my screen than it does on the sheets that I handed you. Undo minus 29 by adding 29 first. Again, you have a left side and a right side, add 29. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. That says negative 54 plus 29. So you're going to have to subtract those absolute values. 14 minus 9 is 5. 4 minus 2 is going to be 2. And you're going to have to keep it as a negative since that was the higher absolute value. So 5p over 6. Now you can do this step in one step if you can, but I'm going to show it to you in 2 steps just so you don't make a mistake. This says 5p over 6, which means 5p divided by 6. You cancel out divide by 6 by multiplying by 6. If you multiply that side, multiply this side. Negative times a positive is going to be a negative. And you know 6 quarters is equal to 150 because it's like $1.50. So what you have left over now is 5p equals negative 150. Then get rid of 5 times p by dividing by 5 on that side. And on this side, p equals a negative. Since a negative divided by positive, it goes into 15 3 times and into 0 0 times. P equals negative 30. What I meant by doing it 2 different ways, you could have combined these 2 steps by separating 5p over 6 into 5 over 6 times p, and you could have multiplied by the reciprocal, but I'm not trying to confuse you with that. Number 8 says name the property. It's 4 when it starts, it's 4 when it finishes. That is the identity property. And it is of addition because it's talking about addition, not multiplication. Number 9 is the given number a solution. You're plugging in 2 here. 13 minus 2 equals 11. That's a true statement. Yep. Yes, it is a solution. So all you're doing, checking its truth value. Number 10 says solve the equation. 14 equals, now we're just talking about one-step equations. P plus 4, you subtract 4 on both sides. These seem embarrassingly simple after you do the 2-step equations. P is 10. Get rid of minus 8 by adding 8 on both sides. 12 plus 8, C is 20. Get rid of minus 5 by adding 5 on both sides. K is, if you need a number line to see this one, do it this way. If you start at negative 1 and you add 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know that K value is 4. And then Q plus a negative 2, anytime you have plus a negative, that's the same thing as Q minus 2. Undo minus 2 by adding 2 to both sides. Q is equal to negative 12. Number 14, you have P minus 29 minus 33 is equal to negative 87. So put those two together, negative 29 and negative 33. Add the absolute values. 3 and 9 is 12. Carry 1, 3 and 2 and 1 is 6. You have negative 62. So P minus 62 equals negative 87. Undo negative 62 by adding it to both sides. Opposite signs, so subtract them. 7 minus 2 is 5. 8 minus 6 is 2, and its higher absolute value is negative, so it's going to be negative P is equal to negative 25. Simplify the expressions. Minus a negative means plus, so negative 3.2 plus 3.1 plus 7.3. When you put these two together, you're left with negative 0.1 plus 7.3. When you put these two together, you subtract 0.1 from 7.3, and you're left with 7.2. This means absolute value. That means the distance that those are from 0. Negative 9 minus 18 is going to be negative 27. The absolute value means how far away is that from 0. It's going to come back to be positive 27. This next one is a positive times a negative. It's going to be negative. So multiply, you're going to have to do it like this probably. 21 times 16, 6 times 1 is 6 times, and 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. When you combine them, 6, 3, and 3. So you have 33.6. You have to move the decimals once to get to this spot, 2 to get to this spot. Again, it's a negative 3.36. Negative 6 is not being raised to the third power. 6 is being raised to the third power. So this acts like negative 6 times 6 times 6. We know 6 times 6 is 36. You might have to do it like this. 36 times one more 6 is 36 again. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21 is 216. And then bring down that negative in front. Very important. It's not positive. It is negative 216. '19 says 1/2 times 36m plus 46. This is distributing. 1/2, and it's easy. Just think of what is 1/2 of 36, or what times 2 gives you 36. It's going to be 18m for this one, plus 1/2 of 46. Just do half of 4, which is plus 2, and half of 6, which is 3. 18m plus 23. A negative 8 divided by a negative 2. A negative divided by a negative. Same sign is going to be positive. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 11z minus 29z. Opposite signs. One's positive, one's negative. Subtract the absolute values. 29 minus 11 is 18z. And keep the absolute value sign that is higher. That one's negative, so it's going to remain as a negative 18z. 22 says name the property shown. Negative 8 times negative 1 over 8. So multiplying by the reciprocal, remember, is the same thing as dividing. So the inverse operation of multiplying by negative 8 is dividing. Therefore, this is the inverse property. Negative 7 plus 3 plus 10 is equal to negative 7 plus 3 plus 10. The only thing that happens is the parentheses move from around 3 plus 10 on the left side to around negative 7 plus 3 on the right. Everything else stays in position. Nothing commutes around. The parentheses move, or the associative, associative. That's the associative property, and it's of addition again, because you're talking about addition. Remember, positives and negatives talk about addition. 24 says write 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 using an exponent. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. That's 9 to the 4th power. 25 says divide 2 over 9 by 3 over 2. Remember, your first fraction stays just like it is. Division becomes multiplication, and you use the reciprocal, which is a fancy word that means flip it, 2 over 3. Multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4. 9 times 3 is 27. And check and see if there's a number that goes into both of those. 4 only has 1 and 2 and 4. None of those numbers will reduce 27. Therefore, that is your simplest form, 4 over 27. And then number 26 says simplify 2 times 699. 699 is the same thing as 700 minus 1. So 2 times that would be 2 times 700, which is 1400, and 2 times negative 1, which is minus 2, 1398, is using the distributive property.